So here we are again. Another predictions video, this time for the Championship. Probably the hardest league to predict, in my opinion anyway. But with that said, let's get to the predictions. 24th, Sheff Wednesday. And now, obvious one out the way. Last place, Sheff Wednesday. Again, we don't know if they'll start the season. Chancery, he needs to go. I think Sheff Wednesday are a big club and they've been ruined. And in that case, they've got a transfer embargo, which doesn't help their case. And only 14 senior players available, so it's not looking good for Sheff Wednesday here. 23rd, Oxford. And Oxford, I do not think they will survive this season. I believe they're not that big of a club, and I just don't really see them surviving this season in the Championship. And again, it's a very hard league. I think second hardest league behind the National League, I think, to get out of, at least. Well, going up anyway. It's too competitive of a league, and I see Oxford United going down. 22nd, Stoke. Now, I believe Stoke's struggles will continue into this season. I believe they will go down this season. And again, it really shows. And to think they were like a Premier League club like 10 years ago, which is absolutely mental. And they're just not going nowhere except down. And they're just, again, similar to some other lower league clubs. They're just on a slope and they're just going absolutely nowhere but down. 21st, QPR. I believe QPR have a similar story to Stoke, as in they've been recently like mid-table and now they're just slowly going on a downward spiral. And I believe their situation is similar to Rotherham in League One, and I believe they will be down there and in a relegation throughout this season. And I do believe they'll survive, but how long will this phase last for QPR? That's my main question. 20th, Preston. And again, for PNE, it feels like they've been going on a bit of a downward spiral, similarly to some other former Premier League clubs. And of course, I know PNE haven't played in the Premier League, but of course, they were the first ever First Division winners, and they did that by going unbeaten, and I believe they've got that history behind them, and I feel like they're just on a bit of a downward spiral, which I think is quite worrying for a club like PNE. 19th, Hull. Now, Hull, they've been down there. Of course, they've been in League One, but they came back up, straight back up, I think it was, and I believe, of course, they'll comfortably survive relegation, and I believe they are definitely a staple in the Championship. Of course, they've even been in the Prem a few times in recent history. But again, they'll finish lower middle table, I think, and they'll live to survive another Championship season. 18th, Charlton. Charlton, I feel like they'll be comfortable from the relegation zone, and again, I feel like a lot of just promoted teams will have that buzz about them, and they will just stay up. And I know what happened recently in the Prem, all three clubs going straight back down 2 seasons in a row. But with lower league, I feel like there's a lot more passion there, and these lower league teams, they will push to do well, and I feel like that's what Charlton will do this season. 17th, Swansea. Nothing really much to say about Swansea except they're just mid-table at best, and that's where I'll finish. Not really competing for anything, but again, the Championship, it is a very tasty league, and they might compete for something. As I remember seeing something where every club was at least fighting for something, and who knows? That's what it might be like. That's what it might be like this season. It's of course a very interesting league, and that's why I think it's one of the hardest. 16th, Portsmouth. Now, I believe Pompey, they're going to try and make themselves a staple of the Championship, and they deserve so. They're too big for League One, where they've been recently. Even went into League Two. Of course, they had that FA Cup win, and I believe it was in 2007, and they, of course, came back up recently, and they will do well, I think, and I believe they will keep pushing and maybe even going to push for playoffs in maybe some recent years. We may never know, and I believe Pompey, they're that stable of a club. I believe they have the potential to do that. 15th, Millwall. Pushing for promotion last season, mid-table this season, of course. I believe Millwall will have the biggest drop-off in the Championship, and I believe they just bottled it like last game of the season, and I believe they will just continuously go. They won't have that good of a season this season. I believe it was like more of a one-season wonder for Millwall that season, but who knows? Again, we might see them in and around the playoffs this season. I'm probably the worst at these predictions, and I'm going to continue waffling now about other clubs. 14th, Derby. I believe Derby will have a decent season, and they will finish mid-table. And of course, they got relegated, but they came back up a few seasons ago. And again, similarly to Pompey, they're too big for League One. Similar to Hull as well. There's nothing really much to say about Derby. I feel like they're a definite Championship side. Maybe like even pushing promotion side. I don't know. But again, I'm terrible at these predictions. And again, time to waffle more about other clubs. 13th, Leicester. Controversial opinion, but I don't see Leicester doing well. Of course, they've lost Vardy, their top goal scorer of all time, I believe. And I just don't really see it going that well. I don't see them getting promoted back to the Prem, and I believe they will just settle for a mid-table finish this season. 12th, Watford. I'm slowly starting to believe that Watford are becoming that just their side that I believe Reading were a few years ago. But again, I just see another mid-table finish for Watford. I don't really see them really like going for anything this season. But again, I'm terrible at predictions. I've probably said that 3 times now. I will try not to say that anymore. 11th, Blackburn. I know we're apparently rivals with Blackburn, but I just see them having a bit of a drop-off. I believe they were pushing for playoffs last season, but I don't really see them. Maybe earlier on in the season they'll push for playoffs, but they will have a drop-off around mid-season and then finish upper middle table, and they will just stay in the Championship for another year. I just don't see them getting to the Prem anytime soon. I just don't think they have the squad for it. 10th, Wrexham. Now, this is another controversial opinion. People probably think Wrexham are going to go up because of all the money they have, but I feel like they'll realise how hard the Championship is, and I believe they will not qualify for the playoffs at all. In fact, they will challenge, but I don't really see them getting anything this season. And it will really show how hard this league is to get promoted out of because of how much competition there is, really. 9th, West Brom. West Brom, I really see them having a decent season, but I don't see them getting playoffs. They're a decent club with a decent squad, but again, I just see them barely missing out of the playoffs. And that's not really much else to say, really, except West Brom barely missed out. 8th, Bristol. Now, Bristol Rovers, I think they just were so unlucky last season. They had a hard playoff game against Sheffield United, and I don't really see them getting playoffs this season. And I think they'll be just so unlucky, and I think they will miss out on the last day. And they just will be incredibly unlucky not to get playoffs. I believe it'll be more of like a one-season thing, but not as bad as Millwall, if you know what I mean. 7th, Coventry. And I think Coventry, recently, they've done really well. Of course, they got to the FA Cup semi-final, only just missing out to Man United. And, of course, I believe they lost that last minute to Sunderland, I believe it was, in the playoffs last season. I believe they'll just fall off a bit under Frank Lampard. I don't think he'll get sacked, but I believe they will win playoffs next season. You heard it here first, people. 6th, Birmingham. So from what I've heard, Birmingham, they brought in some real talent, and of course they absolutely stormed League One last season. They were too big for that league, and I think that's what Cardiff will do this season. Yeah, I believe Birmingham, they will get playoffs, and it shows how much they've come over the last few years, and going from League One straight into Championship playoffs, I believe it'll be an incredible story. And of course, I believe they've got the money for it as well. I believe it's Tom Brady that bought them. 5th, Sheffield United. Now, I believe it'll be the same old story for Sheffield United. I believe they'll get playoffs again, I believe, but I don't see them getting promoted. So basically last season, they just got unlucky. They lost last minute to Sunderland, and they lost the final, of course. And I believe they will fight again to get promotion, and I believe they'll just get playoffs, because I believe there'll be 2 surprise packages in the playoffs. 4th, Norwich. Now I believe Norwich, they will do really well this season, and I believe they will do bits and just get into the playoffs. Well, not just, they'll finish 4th, but I believe they'll have a really good season. A 4th place finish, get into the playoffs, bosh. A great season for the Canaries. 3rd, Middlesbrough. Now I believe Michael Carrick's side, they've been really building, and I believe this year will be their year. I believe they will get playoffs. And let's just say it now, I believe Middlesbrough will win the playoffs. I believe Michael Carrick is a really good manager. He's been managed under Ferguson, and I believe he will just push, and he will fight, and he will get Borough that promotion they really deserve. Because Borough, they're a big club, and they really do deserve it. 2nd, Southampton. Now, Southampton, I believe they're slowly becoming a yo-yo club. I believe they will get promoted automatically this season, but unfortunately, I do believe they will go straight back down, and they're slowly becoming what Fulham and Norwich used to be, which is very unfortunate, because I do somewhat feel for the Southampton fans, where they're just becoming a bit of a yo-yo club, really, aren't they? 1st, Ipswich. And now, of course, champions of the Championship for the 25-26 season, Ipswich Town. I just really see it happening, and even though they've been relegated from the Premier League, they will still have a high from the Premier League, and I believe they can do it. I believe Ed Sheeran's side will absolutely, well, they won't walk it, I believe. They'll win it by about 5 to 10 points or so, but that's my final prediction for the 25-26 Championship season. Only one more of these 2 now, and that's the Premier League. Stay tuned for that, but with that said, I'm Rubbish at Predictions. Take care.